Hello, good morning. It's Monday, July 22nd. I am Rob. I am known as that developer dad around here. And we are building a dotNet application to help me make my life easier as a dungeon master when my players ask me all the silly questions about the random shopkeepers and tavern folk and blacksmiths and such that they meet on their adventures. So I'm also using it to demonstrate some of the software engineering techniques I've learned and figured out and been taught over the years, sharing some mistakes I've made and continue to make and how to handle those, and just trying to have some fun and maybe try to build a little bit of a community around all this. So, without further ado, let's take a look at what we have already done as soon as I've loaded GitHub. And I'll go into the project. And while that's happening, I'll share my screen. And we'll open the projects in a new tab. Go to the tab and load it. Here we go. So last week, we did a pretty heavy-duty pivot into AI territory. At the end of the day on Monday, I had managed to strip out all of the output that was coming from the random generator, and it was showing a lot of blank attributes and null values and stuff like that that haven't been assigned yet. So I was like, this is all right. It's giving me some good information, but what if we remove all of that extra goo that hasn't been populated yet? So we worked out how to do that and added that into the output. And based on what I was seeing there, I was like, this would be a really great way to introduce some basic retrieval augmented generation techniques when working with an LLM, as well as get me a more fleshed out character description. Um, so I brought in a language model, and it looks like Windows is having a little bit of a fit here. I'm trying to reconnect. And if it's going to be a pain, we're going to have a problem. Here we go. It reconnected. The Wi-Fi router must have just had a little nap or something. So let's take a look at what it's doing so far. I've got Visual Studio up, running in a remote desktop over to an old Windows laptop that I found. Let's take a look at our solution. And rather than, well, no, I'll just debug it. Let's go. Play. Push the play button. It's going to do its build and all of its stuff. And it's loading. Now, after I got the language model integrated, I added some end user prompting to make things a little less of a pain. And it seems to be just running something. I feel like we're missing some commits. What's that? You can go away. Why is it doing all of this crazy stuff? Let's take a look. Program. Let's take a peek. Build app, create services. This doesn't have any of my most recent stuff in it. Done. You're done. Good. So it just created a gnome explorer who's a folk hero, and that's great. Now, I had done a pull request and a merge up on GitHub last Friday after we got all of that progress done. I think I better fetch. And oh yeah, pull. Haha. Here's all of my stuff. Get NPC options and all that stuff. We got to rebuild the solution now. Rebuild. I didn't fetch and pull. It happens. Is building. Gonna complain about errors? Oh, stop it. Get NPC options, no accessible method. Yeah. I'll be really unhappy with myself if I screwed up my source control operations. Generate townsperson, generate from options. Okay, it's all good. Let's see if it's still complaining. It is. We're going to have to do a little bit more rebuilding. Build. My character workbook. Let's come up here. Build. My character workloads. Here's NPC options. Does not contain a definition. Okay, it's clearing itself out. One more time. Let's build the solution. Sometimes when you're using source control and you do a whole bunch of changes and you push them up and you do your pull request and merge and all of that stuff, and then you flip back to the main branch on your local workspace, and then you do a fetch and a pull to get all of the new consolidated changes, the build kind of forgets who it is. Or the application kind of forgets who it is because it doesn't have all the binaries and so on. So you kind of have to sometimes go in and rebuild a couple of the projects just one at a time to get it to behave itself again. And yes, let's pick from NPC attributes. And I want a half-elf, random background, and let's go with I had added a shopkeeper. Guard, thief, knight, scholar, smith, tinker, weaver. Looks like I may not have checked that stuff in, but let's go with a merchant. And no, let's not do an AI description. And let's stop. Good. All the changes that we made last week, except for one or two where I had added a couple more background or profession options, those are in place. So if I come down to rule sets, and inside the 5E rules, for vocations, let's see if this code is here. We've got cobblers, cooks, smith, tinker. Yeah, for some reason it looks like shopkeeper's gone. Well, that's annoying. Might it be hiding in another branch? Let's look over here. Just for laughs. Scholar, explorer. Fisher, scribe. Yeah, it looks like we lost those two vocations that I added. That's okay. All right, we're going to flip back to main. I can always add those again later. And let's create a new branch based on main. And it's going to be feature add appearance options on species. Create. All right. So let's take a look at our townsfolk generator. We're going to need that project in front of our faces. So our TownsfolkManager on generate townsperson from options. All right. Now, we had done some interesting things on Friday where rather than just manually copying right here in the method, we delegate that out to an extension method and pass the species template. So I think what we want to do here is we want to rework our townsperson a little bit. And instead of doing what we're doing here, I think we want to construct this. Let's hide this. Let's construct this selected attributes dictionary, and then we'll populate it up here in the random generator. Now, where did that come from? Generate townsperson from options. That's being called from our character workloads. What are you talking about? iTownsfolkManager doesn't contain it. Golly. There it is. Silly thing. Generate NPC, selected attributes, okay. And that's being provided. Which means we're going to go all the way down here to program. And NPC options is there. And our selected options is this. So I'm going to go grab this code and pop up to the TownsfolkManager again. And here's what we're going to do. Paste that in here. All right, now, instead of assigning to the NPC species, we're going to say selected options name of townsperson dot species is the selected species. We're going to drop that. We're going to do the same thing here. Selected options dot, nope, name of, I believe it's townsperson dot vocation equals NPC profession. We'll comment that. We'll remove those commented lines of executable code after we're done making sure this works. And selected options name of townsperson dot background equals NPC background. Comment this. Let's build the project. Make sure I didn't mistype something and goof something up on myself. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use this. Not yet, we aren't. I just realized that I was about to do a bunch of setup work and not take advantage of all the setup work that I had done. They're going to come down here and say NPC equals generate townsperson from options and pass the selected options. Save everything. I'm going to pop up here, drop a breakpoint because I want to make sure that it's actually executing this path, and we'll run it. No, I do not want to use any of the NPC attributes. And I believe we have hit our breakpoint. So let's step over this, run to the cursor, our selected options. We've got 3 entries in that dictionary. All of the values are null. Let's step assign it. Let's see if our species is populated. It sure is. We've got a half elf. Who is currently practicing as a potter and grew up as a charlatan. Interesting choices. But let's step in. We know this runs. And then we'll come in and apply the species, grab the vocation, resolve it to a template, apply the template, come in a selected background, make sure it exists, apply it, return the NPC, print it out to the screen. All right, and let's not generate the AI right now. And we'll stop. Great. So one of the things that we're going to want to feed to the LLM and provide to ourselves as game masters is we're going to want to provide a gender for our NPC. And I believe I've set up gender to descend from species. Yes, that goes into appearance. And given name, family name. We're going to need to find some lists online for good names of elves and half elves and stuff like that. But let's look at the character appearance. Go to this definition. So gender is just a string, and most gender or most NPC species have male, female, and let's add some other things just to give some flavor. So I don't think I necessarily want to define these only in 5e. I think what I want to do is come down to rule set definitions, species data. Now this represents our collection of species templates. But on species template, I think I would like to Hey, Hazel. As soon as I'm done, I'll be checking all of my socials and doing follow backs and all of that stuff. So I will take care of that. So public species template, we're generating a template. And I think what we need to do is create a public const string array called default gender choices equals, oh, I need to use the wiggly braces, give it a semicolon, female, and I'm doing this totally wrong, male, I think I have to use the square braces for this. Yep. Yes, I do. Show me the fixes. Fix formatting. That's no different than what I had. Public read-only string. Fine. Default gender choices. None. I'm just going to say ambiguous. There. Because this applies to appearance, and it's all about how our characters present, not about the biology. Save. Let's go to, not the diagnostic tools, Solution Explorer. We'll come down to our 5E species provider. And the species template, because this is just a basic one, we got to go back to species template. And public string array, gender options, and we're going to get we're not going to return anything yet because public read-only list of string gender options, set this up in the constructor, give that an underscore, gender options equals a new list of string, public void add gender options, string array options, dot add range options. Here we go. And I want to do public void add gender options string option. And gender options dot add option. So now we've got some flexibility. We can add one or several. Var options equals gender options dot any equals true. Then gender options dot to array else default gender choices return options. So now we've got a list of default gender choices. We have the ability to override what those choices may be on a species by species basis. I need to move this down here. And instead of doing this like so, I'm going to do something called constructor chaining. This string.empty. Now I can get rid of all that empty space. Save it. And now we have the ability to select our character's gender. Now to do that, we need to come down here into create townsperson from options. While we're here, before I forget, we've got that commented out code that we no longer need. Let's clean that up right now so I don't forget. Good. Now, let's go into apply species. We've got our template. We've got our NPC. And we are going to need a dice bag. Actually, we're going to need a card shuffler. So we're going to need to be able to pass in a shuffler. Let's go back down to where we were. Here we go, apply species. And I don't want to pass that in here. But I guess I'm going to need to. And that means, ooh, didn't want to do that. I want to do it this way. Card deck. The shuffler. And I know we're going to need those down here too. Back up by one. Shift. Alt. There we go. And I'm going to copy this. Copy it. Paste it. Over you go by a one and back by a space. Paste it again. That's not what I wanted. Just use the darn mouse. One space. One space. And you know what? I also know for a fact we're going to need the dice bag as well. Because there are going to be some things that we generate by picking from a list. And we are going to have some other things that we need to roll dice for. Dice, okay. Gender from the options on the template. So, NPC. Well, first we have to choose. Var string gender option equals shuffler dot pick one from template dot gender options. And we could say npc dot appearance dot gender equals gender option. And we can save this. And if we run, we'll get some build errors because I probably goofed something up. So let's pin our error list and start fixing this stuff up here. Oh, yeah. Shuffler. We got to pass our dice bag. And because we got to pass the same crap into the other apply thingies, let's just look for the other places I missed it. Here we go. And save. And boop. Nah. Make it random. Let's get it random. And I'm just going to Leroy Jenkins my way through this. I'm not going to step through this code. We have a male half-elf. Nope. Let's make another. We have a female human who makes shoes but grew up as an acolyte. Shoes and boots. Let's say she makes boots. That's cooler. Do you want an AI description? Nah. Let's do one more. Nope. Roll the dice for me. We have a gender ambiguous elf who is a tinker but grew up as a sage. I might want to swap that ambiguous language out a little bit. I'm not really in love with it. But let's see what kind of description we get, just for laughs. And then I want to try customizing a couple of these species. And we can look back at our LLM server. There we go. Oh, there's some gender specific pronouns in there. I think I'm going to need to do a little bit more work on that stuff. But we've got an appearance. Ambiguous, tinker, sage. And let's stop. We'll close out of that, go back to Visual Studio. Do I really want to split hairs? Yeah, I do. Yes, I do. So I'm going to come up to SpeciesTemplate. And public read-only string. Nope, it's going to be a dictionary. Of string and string. Default pronoun mapping. And I'm going to add another public read-only dictionary of string and string. And it's not going to be an array. It's going to be custom pronoun mappings. And I'm going to change gender options from gender options to custom gender options. Exactly. That's why I'm making it so customizable on a species by species basis. My wife just walked past as I was talking about making the gender options customizable for different fantasy species and being able to map specific pronouns to these custom gender options and so on. And she's like, it's a construct. I'm like, right. And this is a fantasy world. We need more stuff than just he, him, her, his stuff. So, but for now, let's just map our default gender choices to the pronouns. So, it's fodder for the AI to make the descriptions more rich.
Yeah, but then it's going to put certain.
So first, we're going to create our pronoun mapping. And then default pronoun mapping. Ambiguous equals they, them, theirs. Control, no, undo. These are going to be almost the same every time. Hey, Akram, how are you? Female, male, so she, her, hers. And finally, he, him, his. Save. And then we need a function, public string, pronouns. Get this actually needs to be get pronouns. Get pronouns, string, gender, string, pronouns equals, not options, what did I call that dictionary? Default pronoun mapping. Ambiguous now if, not that, what are you even doing? If custom gender options dot contains gender and custom pronoun mappings dot contains key. I suppose I could just skip right over to that, couldn't I? Yeah, there's not really any need for me to test both collections. Then pronouns equals custom pronoun mappings for the supplied gender. Else, if, nope, else if default pronoun mapping contains key gender. Get rid of that extra brace. Pronouns equals default pronoun mapping. For the gender, oh, it's not a method, it's an index. There we go. And if it's in neither of those places, we're just going to say ambiguous, return pronouns. So if we can't tell the gender, we're just going to fall over to they, them. And let's save this. But we don't have a place to put their pronouns. So I think we're going to add that right to the townsperson. Given name, family name, pronouns equals string dot empty. And why am I making such a big deal about pronouns and such? Because we will be feeding this information to a large language model. And the more explicit information we provide, the better its results are going to be. For instance, we just generated an ambiguously gendered half-elf tailor who grew up as an outlander or something like that. And it set their pronouns to she, her all throughout when it may not be immediately apparent what their generation, what their gender is, or perhaps they don't present as that. And whether you agree with all the political stuff around that or not, there are lots of people who do, and I am here for everybody. And that's too bad if you don't like that. So let's say no. And I have a feeling that I forgot something. Yes, I forgot to assign the pronouns. Nope. Stop. Because I am a big silly. I need to go into the TemplateWorker and say npc.pronoun equals template.getPronouns for the gender option selected. Save that. Let's run it again. Nope, I don't want to pick anything. Fully randomize it. And it blew up. Custom pronoun mappings is null. Okay. It blew up because I forgot to do some stuff. Custom pronoun mappings. Yeah, we got to do all kinds of stuff. So add gender option. String option. String pronouns. And I got to rename this to gender option. Okay. Yep, do it. And up here in my constructor, I need two custom pronoun mappings equals a new dictionary of string, and custom pronoun mappings, gender option equals, whoops, derp, 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 equals pronoun. I gotta save that. And this is no longer gonna work for me. So, excuse me. We need to instead pass in an array of tuple. Whoops, no. An array of string, gender options. I don't remember how to work with tuples. Var back equals gender options dot select x dot give me some IntelliSense. Item 1. That gives me what I want. And that will not be empty. Dot to list. Boop. Genders. There we go. And then for each var option in gender options, we are going to say custom pronoun mappings option dot item 1 equals option dot item 2. All right, good deal. So let's try it again. Nope, fully random, please. So we've got a dwarven miner who grew up as a sage and is of ambiguous gender using they, them, theirs. Let's build another one. Just completely randomly. Ambiguous. I feel like I need to step through this stuff here. Do you want an AI description? Nope. Type stop. Nope. And we've paused. Step. What did we pick? Ambiguous. How many gender options do we have? Doesn't seem to be doing a very good job of randomly selecting, does it? So what if we come up to our species template? Nope, not the species template, but the 5e provider. And oh, I don't have tieflings in here. Are tieflings even in the SRD? Let's open a new window. And I want to go to OpenAI because that's where I've got the thing. Oh, boogers. Come on. I don't want ChatGPT on my desktop. For developers, news, try ChatGPT. Let's come over here, and here's Chat PDF. I've already got that going, but do tieflings exist in the D&D 5e SRD? Okay, that's fine. I had uploaded the PDF some time ago, like way up here. Okay, so they're not in there. That's fine. Let's say gnomes. Gnome template dot add gender option chaos. And the pronouns we leave it blank. They, them, theirs. For dwarf, let's pretend the dwarves are pretty fuddy-duddy. Dwarf template dot add gender options new tuple string array and I got to give it a semicolon and I need to go new tuple of string Is he going to let me do that? Yeah, it is. Back it up. Male. He, him, his. New. Tuple. String. Female. She, her, hers. And let's save. And we'll run it and see if any of our overrides happen. So first off, let's just let it generate randomly. What's our species? Is dragonborn. Our gender option is male. Our pronouns should be he, him, his. Good. Let her rip. So we've got a male dragonborn who is a cobbler who used to be an entertainer. No. Let's hit enter, random generate. And what do we got here? We've got a half orc. Nah. Yes, I do want to pick, and I want to pick a gnome just to see what happens. Make everything else random. Gnomes, gender is chaos. Their pronouns, yes. Let's go ahead and generate this guy. And it's taking a few seconds, so we have to please be patient. And as soon as this is done, I am going to say we have added ourselves a feature. And as it prints out and generates it one token at a time, I can see that it's using the pronouns that we've supplied. And it's doing the thing. All right, and let's see what it looks like. Vibrant and unconventional gnome appearance with an array of colors in their hair and eyes that shift hues based on mood. Their small stature is accentuated by oversized clothing, often adorned with alchemical symbols and ancient runes. All right, so that's fun. That's a whole lot of fun. And we've got their attributes right up here. An AI generated name. And I think we have ourselves a pretty well-defined feature. And we can continue, or I can continue adding attributes of these background of these different templates as necessary. I can customize any of them up here as needed. This method is going to get really, really long in the tooth, so I might pop it out to something a little bit more elegant at some point, but it's not something I have to worry about today. And we've got ourselves a nicely realized feature. So until 1 o'clock this afternoon, I am that developer dad, and have yourselves a great rest of your morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are.